What is going on, everybody? Nasdorachi coming back at you again today with another video for Dragon Ball Legends. Might be a little bit longer because we are going to be covering the updated tier list for March 13th, 2020. Of course, I have to give my big shout outs to Slanak and Devil Takoyaki, or Thon on Twitter, for helping out with the back end work on the tier list. They've been consistently helping me out, which helps me get the information out more efficiently. So of course, as always, a big shout out to them. There's also one more little update piece of news that I just wanted to quickly cover before we jumped into the tier list material itself. We're going to try and streamline this so we can get through everything as quickly as possible. And of course, happy Friday 13th to everybody as well. That's why you see the Friday the 13th Jason theme on the overlay here. So, jumping into the internet first and foremost, there is a rumor going on that Broly and Chilai could be coming to Legends soon, due to a picture of the Dragon Ball Legends logo in the Japanese App Store. This wording over the logo here will literally translate to Broly and Chilai arrive. It's been reported by multiple different JP players of the game, and not just this one gentleman here. Goresh picked up on it. I'm sure he's probably already made a video about it because that man is like an avalanche. It's hard to keep up. So we don't know too much about them, but I did want to share that information because it is entirely possible that we will be looking at another Broly and Chilai unit. I would say Broly would be carrying the weight of the banner, and Chilai probably wouldn't convince too many people to spend money, but I'm sure if they make a nice, powerful Broly, that would be something that people would chase after. So it's well within reality to think that rumor might be true as still a Saiyan Day or part 2 of this celebration style of setup. So it's all rumor for now, but I'm sure within the next few days we might have more concrete information. Of course, I'll be keeping you updated with everything Broly and Chilai related if they are in fact coming to the game. So moving forward, we shall be covering Slanak's tier list here. There are a couple things you need to know before we cover the list itself. First and foremost, very quickly, all Zen Kai units are assumed to be at Zen Kai level 7. The reason for this is because some players out there have them at Zen Kai 7. It's something that you may encounter in PvP. So for the effective purposes of comparing all the units at their max potential on this list, that's kind of how we have to set it up. Now, of course, they're not going to be as effective if they're not Zen Kai 7, but again, we have to assume that that's how it's going to be just because of whale players that have access to it. Beyond that, the list only works if you picture or assume in your head that you have access to every single unit in the game. Some of the units that are ranked a little lower down the list are still perfectly viable options for their teams, but they're stacked the way they are because, again, it has to assume that you have access to everyone. There may be better options for that team, and again, these tier lists are very fluid. We've done 10 or 12 of them already for the game so far in the year and a half plus I've been covering the game, and I'm sure there'll be many more. So if a unit's not where you think it should be, or it's not where you want it to be, it may not always be that way. Things do tend to change a lot. I think we've covered pretty much everything before we have to jump in. Just remember that all the units are ranked based not only off their individual value, but relevant meta teams that are competitive right now in the game, as well as how they stack up to other potential options for that team. Again, assuming that you have everybody. With all that covered, we can now jump in and get through this, hopefully with some smoothness involved. So, starting at the top of Slanak's list here, still OP, Zen Kai 7, Beerus, and Buu. Just prime examples of extremely well-kitted units with very, very high stats. Both of them feature buffs and debuffs, healing of some type, although Fat Buu's is much, much higher. Very, again, high defenses. I don't even know if I said that. Good green cards, high damage blue card with a feint for Buu, great ultimate arts for Beerus, good locking of different cards and abilities between both of them. So, very, very good examples of just top echelon units. They are the top cream of the crop for this game. I'm sure they'll be dethroned at some point, but right now, when they're fully maxed out, there aren't too many units that can compete with them. And then again, it's not only because of how good they are individually, but Buu on regeneration, considering Legends Limited Piccolo and Baby 2 running along with him, that team becomes monstrously defensive team that can tank upwards of 30 million damage. And Beerus on an extremely well-built God Key team with either Wiese or Saiyan variants of God Ki is also extremely effective. Even though God Ki has fallen off a little bit comparative, just because they are, they haven't been flexed on in terms of really powerful units in a little while here. The purple Super Saiyan God Goku was really, really good, but just they haven't had anything truly meta-defining since Zen Kai 7 Beerus came out. So Regen doing a little bit better, but both of these units extremely good. So getting through to the Z tier next, we have Majin 21, extremely effective offensive unit, features plenty of tools in her kit for healing, buffing her damage. The green card she has is phenomenal, transforming, so access to transform stats, and second main ability that gives her even more fun. So she is an extremely effective unit, and also her synergy with the free-to-play 21, as well as the Red Android 18 or Perfect Cell, other androids, or Regen. She works great with Baby 2 and Zen Kai Buu as well. So again, because of her overwhelming stats, her great kit, her great team flexibility, and the fact that she can go toe-to-toe with most color advantage units, so she can go against yellow units fairly effectively, definitely earns her a top spot on the list. She just came out and was instantly an extremely effective, very high value unit. And again, a lot because the free-to-play 21 dropped right beside her as well. Next up, we have the Gohan, just one of, if not the easiest character in the game to use and get results with. Even newer players shouldn't have too many problems just going out with Gohan and getting wins, because his kit is very well put together. He's got very high defense early on, ability to destroy Dragon Balls, green card that just opens up the enemy for a free combo priority for you while restoring Ki. He's got a heal, the transformation to Super Saiyan 2, the 10-second lock-in, the reusable main ability for a free 50 Ki and a blue card. His kit is just really ridiculous. They've been releasing a lot of red units to try and counter him, like specifically Bardock and Janemba, who both either have like anti-movies or anti-lock-in buffs and passives going on for them. And even still, this Gohan generally will lock swap into a blue unit, and then you're just stuck with your red unit in a color disadvantage situation regardless. So because of all those reasons, Gohan's still one of, if not, the highest value Ultra Space Time units in the game, and overall very highly ranked as well. Next up, LL Piccolo came into the game very highly ranked, mainly because of how stacked of a team Regeneration is. He's got great support from an extremely competitive team. Combos with Zen Kai Buu and Baby 2, very well with like very many other Regeneration characters for different color options, and he can essentially combo indefinitely until you really run out of key or cards and can't draw anymore. But he's got boosted card draw speed built into his kit, lowered arts card costs on his like reds and yellows, I do believe, at least the reds, and that just ability to just cycle through cards and continue combos for a really long time. He's also a great nuke damage dealer with great buffs to his blue card on the green, and it also draws you a blue card, so you can just guarantee that combo extension into a finishing move there. Very, very effective unit. Also transforming, so has access to secondary sets of buffs, passives, and stats from the transformation. Very effective unit, very, very good team. Legends Limited Vegeta coming up next is an amazing choice for your non-Beerus Saiyan versions of the God Ki team, and as well, they've now added the future tag to him, which will increase versatility in the future. I would say more so for like upcoming God Goku units from the Goku Black arc, as well as like Vegeto Blue, and just again more team versatility beyond just Zamasu and Fusion Zamasu and Rose and Goku Black. So because they're future, that'll help out a lot in the future, not so much right now because that team isn't hyper competitive, but again, this character is extremely effective at comboing for long periods of time, sustaining in battle with heals and buffs from his green card, very, very high blue card and ultimate arts card damage, and he features a mini lock-in as well, which can be very strategically used to assassinate characters as needed. Very, very high competitive, effective character, so we don't have to spend too much time on him because he's been out for a little bit, but he's a very, very effective and good unit. Next up, Super Baby 2 is not this high on the list because of his damage output. He's not a super effective damage dealer or combo abuser, but his support is a prime example of some of the best supporting qualities we've seen for a character in the game. His healing support in conjunction with Regeneration's healing is absolutely absurd. I'm sure you guys have seen and experienced it many times over by now. Just the fact that he's fairly defensive in nature, so he can take hits and stall the game, and providing those healing buffs to the rest of the team really, again, just make him one of the best support characters in the entire game. He does amazing things for his team, which is mostly regeneration. Can also work on GT and provide some of the same benefits, especially to Shenron, a little bit to Super Saiyan 4 Goku as well, but the GT team is a little bit less about healing, but he still helps provide a lot of combat sustainability for them as well, especially the Shenron, who's an endurance tanking monster. It makes that team very unkillable as well, so very versatile across two powerful teams. Next up, Super Saiyan 4 Goku is a damage god, as well as being relatively tanky and has a little bit of healing built into his kit, with a very effective way of restoring ki every time the enemy swaps, and a very good ultimate arts card as well. Just this character should not be slept on. He is extremely effective. He's also pretty much immune to any type of stat debuffs because of his green card. Now, the only reason why Goku is ranked up this high and Vegeta is not, in terms of Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, is because Vegeta does lack the defensive and healing tools of the kit. Now, Vegeta does get a feint that activates fairly reliably, but just again, because of those lack of defensive and healing options, the Vegeta does get edged out a little bit compared to the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So, again, amazing unit, very high damage. Better on GT, but can also fit on more generic Saiyan-style teams. Just he's not going to be buffing it really. He's going to be selfish on those style of teams. Next up, the Legends Limited Vegeto, who is falling down a little bit, mostly because the Fusions team is struggling to maintain its competitiveness. They are still competitive, they just don't have very many options. It's been a very set-in-stone style of team up until Green Gogeta launched, who's the only thing we've seen for it recently. He was a very good addition to the team, but Fusions is just getting a little bit stagnant, which is why Vegeto is falling down a little bit. However, he has one of the best individual unit kits in the game. Just extremely proficient buffing, ki restore, very good blue card, very good green card, very good kit in general with the damage buffs based on card draw. So he is an exceptional unit, also can cancel buffs on your enemy. So again, he's holding value. The Fusions team will be back, and that's why he's holding value in addition to his kit being extraordinarily good. Like, we will be seeing Kefla at some point, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Vegeto Blue, Gogeta Blue. So there will be fusion options that will be resurrecting this team and bringing them fully back to the top. And, you know, we keep that in mind a little bit. But as of right now, the Fusions team still competitive, but possibly not as top tier as they used to be. Dropping down to S+ tier, this unit is debatable. The first form Legends Limited Frieza, he could be potentially at the bottom end of Z tier. Even Rusmir Slanak said that was still an acceptable placement for him. He is an exceptionally great unit for your Lineage of Evil teams. And it's not even so much like his damage output or the things that he does, although his green card is fantastic, his blue card damage is amazing, his ultimate arts card damage is even better, and his cover change against red cards is phenomenal as well, because he is the only character in the game that can chain a cover save into a green card into continuing to combo. No other character in the game can do that off of the cover exchanges, so that gives him some very unique and powerful properties. But his damage numbers are not extremely impressive outside of those situations because he is tagged as a support unit. But just by existing and not dying, he gives phenomenal buffs and great ki restore to the rest of your Lineage of Evil squad, which is really what they needed. They needed a really good support unit to replace Chilled because he's not very effective. This Frieza does all that and some pretty dang good damage also, with some great cover saves, which grant him a very high value and potential Z to very top of S tier status. Next up, LF Namek Goku has been holding pretty consistent value in this area for a while now. Again, the combat changes from Battle System 2.1 had the most profound effect on lowering his value out of like the cheat tier status. However, he's still an exceptional unit for your generic Saiyans teams, or that Namek Saga team build, or even stuff like Super Saiyans or San Family. Even though those teams are not as relevant as well, he is still a very, very good last man standing unit, and you really can't sleep on him. Now, it's very difficult to use him properly because you can't play passively anymore, but very high-level players who have figured out how to, properly bait spam with him and how to counter at close range and stuff like that will still have very good results using this Goku. Bojack next has the best cover change mechanic of any character in the game, and it's not even just using the cover change mechanic, it's just the fact that he has access to it, and you can use it to play mind games with people to get free combos. Like a lot of times players will try and drop their combo and slow things down on purpose to try and bait out that cover change, and then you can just wait and get a free combo on them while they sit there waiting for you to swap into a unit you're not going to swap into. Also, the cover change, when you do use it, has relatively no cost. Like, it does say that it damages a unit by like 20 or 30% upon swapping in, but in most cases, if you were to just leave that unit in anyways and not swap Bojack in, they would end up taking that damage naturally from getting hit by the enemy anyway. So usually it ends up being a no cost or less damage than what they would have taken when you swap Bojack in regardless. So again, there's not really any drawbacks to using the cover cut. Beyond that, he does great strike card damage, has a great main, has a good little auto heal certain way into the battle, and probably only bad factor about him is his defense isn't the best. Now he can take hits, but you don't want him to just sit there and get pummeled on for any type of extended period of time. The green card's pretty good too with blast armor on it. So I do think that Bojack is an exceptional character, pairs with the yellow Gohan very well, and of course we've seen Movie's team dominating the meta for quite a while now. They've even released units like Janemba to try and counter Movie meta a little bit, and they still hold a spot really near the top. It hasn't really changed anything yet so far. Next up, we have the new Red Bardock, who is exceptional on generic Saiyans teams, also fits onto the Bardock squad team. That team's just not quite as competitive. He's almost kind of like a tweaked or a little bit watered down version of the yellow Gohan, featuring the 10-second lock-in, the transformation, exceptional blue card damage, and lots of strike damage. However, the trade-off for that and why he's a little bit lower value is because he doesn't have access to these tools till well later in the fight. If no one on your team dies, he can't transform and start his process until 50 seconds into the match. Now, if you have a teammate die, that changes things up a little bit. But he also does have a great blast cards cover change, which will counter blast cards. And again, just really great damage. Built-in heal, built-in free vanish restore. Very good tools in his kit. He's also a great anchor unit to run alongside Namek Goku, so no matter which one of them dies, you'll still have a really good endgame, late fight anchor unit. So it works out nicely, and he's a very good generic Saiyan unit. Full power Frieza next, your endurance tanking monster for Lineage of Evil. You also have Purple Cooler as a tanking option, but this yellow Frieza is basically your dedicated tank. He swaps in, lowers ki on your enemy, can take a buttload of damage, can survive rising rushes from anyone in the game except for what hit, and overall does pretty good damage with yellow cards and on his blue cards, especially after his main ability. He has a pretty good card counter to set up the blue card as well when he uses his green card. So overall, exceptional unit that has increased in value or been holding value, especially with the release of the limited first form Frieza. So very, very good, very defensive unit. Next up is Shalit, who is possibly one of the highest damage dealing cards in the game, or characters in the game. He does have the only, which is a significant downside though, of the 45-second transformation duration, so you do have to play around that. Before and after it's active, he will die almost instantaneously if someone sneezes on him, but during the transformation, he is top tier sparking level. His strike damage output in conjunction with the right special moves can quickly dispatch most enemies you fight against in like 1.5 to 2 combos, especially when you work blue cards into the mix. So, with that being said, he is definitely an exceptional unit who fits onto the generic Saiyans team very nicely, being a health buffer. So, no real problems with him other than the duration of his transformation. I'm sure he will continue to adapt and change in the future with other forms as we continue to unlock them. So, it's really nice that they finally made him competitive back when they gave him Super Saiyan 3, and it's good to see our main story character as someone that's relevant to be used in competitive PvP. Like, I used him the entire Ultimate Battle season and had great results getting through fights pretty quickly using him. Next up, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta Kind of discussed him already when we talked about Goku, but just great unit for the GT team. Very, very high damage output. Very good stun possibility, or feint rather, on his Ultimate Arts card. He just lacks the defensive and healing tools that the Goku has. But again, he restores ki pretty well, can combo pretty well, lowers the cost of his cards a little bit, and just generally is a very good offensive character. Just don't let him get beat on, because he will die very easily. Doesn't have any way to take big, heavy hits. Next up, the transforming blue Vegeta from base form into Super Saiyan. The front runner on your movies team in most cases. He's got that great blast armor on reds and blues. His transformation ups his stats quite nicely. Can heal with blue. Can abuse red cards by using the green card. Just, again, is very well-rounded offensive melee unit that is still a feature figurehead on your movies team. And honestly, I think he's much better than the newer blue transforming Vegeta who goes from Super Saiyan to God Red. Definitely give this one the trophy in terms of who's better. Next up, green golden Frieza, who's risen in value because of, again, the limited Frieza coming out, just buffing Lineage of Evil as a whole. He is kind of like Shalit in regards to he has a timed window of effectiveness. Generally, early in the fight, you'll want to get in as much playtime with him as possible to make full usage of his buffs and his capabilities. But again, he is a unit that was very good, that dropped off a little bit, and now with the release of Limited Frieza, that's why he's accelerated back up the list a little bit. Next up, you have Rose, who is your default red option for God Ki, who will be a relevant option on Future when that team kind of comes together a little bit better. And those are his main two spots. However, he provides great debuffs on the enemy when you're running him with God Ki that helps your whole team out. And he does pretty reliable damage output. He can also nullify his disadvantage to blue units, and that's always valuable. Has pretty good damage on his Ultimate Arts card as well. And I think the most annoying thing about fighting against him is every time you vanish, he'll delete one of your cards. And I'll always vanish and go to hit a card, and it's always that card. Out of all the four that are there, it's always the card that I'm going to press that he deletes, and it screws up my combos. So he's got some pretty quirky and annoying features in his kit that make him a really good character. I do think that definitely God Ki is where you want to run him, and unless you're running Wiese and Beerus, he shouldn't really have too much competition for usefulness at this point in the game. Red Janemba is next. Very effective anti-movies unit. Very good for matching up with the Gohan, as long as you don't let Gohan lock you in and then swap into the blue Vegeta, because he can really catch you with your pants down if you abuse Gohan's lock that way, or if you're up against Gohan who does that. So again, he can do really nice things with his counter into Immobilize on his green card. Even if you don't end up countering, you still get the Immobilize. His blue card damage is absurdly high, and especially after using a green card, and as well does a lot of damage to blue units. So even on color disadvantage, his blue card will face roll a lot of blue units. He is significantly better than the purple Janemba that came out a long time ago, and personally I enjoy using him. I think that he is a great red option for regeneration. You also can run him on movies if you have him start up enough. I think he's probably better than Tapion as well for that movies build because of using him on movies against movies. So you'll get a lot of benefits in that regard. Great unit. I love Janemba personally. So next up, we have Purple Goku. He actually came out pretty strong due to his overwhelming defensive nature. He's got pretty dang good damage on his blue card, and his Immobilize is extremely useful on his green card. Now, the purple Super Saiyan, God Super Saiyan Vegeta, still useful for the team and didn't lose very much value because they fill two very different roles. This Vegeta will still be your assassin character who can guarantee kills and try and get you into an advantaged state on the game, but this Goku right here will stall the game very nicely, provide that Immobilize for guaranteed hits with like Rising Rush or ultimates against who you want to hit against without them being able to swap characters, and just overall tanks really well. So two different characters, same team, but widely different roles, both of which of them are very valuable characters. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Kaioken Goku is a lot better than what people originally probably gave him credit for when he first came out. He's capable of taking hits quite well, of doing damage even better, repeatedly deleting your enemy's hand with his green-blue card combo when he's transformed, and gets free Vanish back on second usage of his main ability. So I like this unit a lot. I think he is very good, even though it is a time transformation, and most of those units you have to use very well. You can't just sloppily play with them. I do personally think that this Goku is a very, very good unit. Next up, we have the Red 18, who was much lower in value before the 21 and the Majin 21 came out. Now that they're both out, they form like almost a perfect trifecta of synergy. Whenever 18 swaps out, she's got buffs. Whenever the regular 21 swaps out, she's got buffs for the whole team. Majin 21 just eats up all the buffs and can swap frequently because of her swap passives. And it's just a very, very high synergy team. Even though the Red 18 is defensive unit, she can output pretty good damage, she can stall the game nicely, she can take hits exceptionally well, and her main ability is extremely effective also. So again, between those three units, this female trifecta, that has pulled the Red 18's value up considerably recently. Next up, we have Perfect Cell, whose value may have dropped a little bit due to the Legends Limited Piccolo coming out as an optimal regeneration unit. However, Cell still does reasonably good damage. He can still tank really well, has a phenomenal green card, great ultimate arts with chance to faint, and that instant transmission cover save. Cell is also functional on future, androids, and regeneration, so he has a lot of team flexibility. He's one of the oldest units that's held the highest value for the longest time. He is still an extremely effective unit, even if he's losing a little bit of value. Next up, a unit that's the opposite, has gained an incredible amount of value recently, from trash to being S+. You have the Zen Kai 7 Gohan. Now, when they Zen Kai 7'd him, they gave him an oppressively offensive kit, but didn't give him too many crazy defense or healing tools, so he's not like the perfect Zen Kai unit, but he is extremely effective at dealing damage. He also features some pretty nice anti-regeneration buffs, which gives him value in that regard also, since that team is so dang powerful, and since he's a good purple matchup against Fat Boo. So Zen Kai versus Zen Kai, that'll be a good matchup for this new Gohan, and he does again have an incredible amount of value now comparatively to where he was before, but potentially he'll still struggle with some team placements because again, Son family and hybrids are not in the best or most competitive state at the moment. So that'll probably be his biggest downfall, but I'm assuming he's going to be a very powerful and very dangerous unit to fight against, especially when you're packing green units. Next up, we got Zen Kai Broly. Incredibly durable, very high damage movies unit. Can also maybe be run on some like quirky Broly based teams or something similar to that, or like Saiyans or Trinity style team, but movies is probably where you'll want to place him more often than not. Again, does great damage, has a good feint chance on his blue card, and is overall extremely tough character to deal with, but I don't know, probably not the best out of the Zen Kai units, but still better than the Red Super Saiyan Goku, and probably Goku Black as well. He's a very competitive character. I honestly always liked this Broly, so it's good to see him get some love. Next up, the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta. We kind of already covered him a little bit when we were talking about what the Red or Purple Goku. So again, he's just kind of like your assassin character. You bring him to battle, you save him off to the side. Once a character is within lethal range, you'll sub him in to abuse the 5-second lock timer, and then kill that character. And the enemy has no options, and there's nothing they can do about it. Because of his extremely effective ways of abusing this assassination role, he is still holding a lot of value. Now, he doesn't take hits super well, but he does have a great counter comboable green card, and as well, he's got a pretty good ultimate arts. You know, if you sacrifice all your cards to scale up its damage, it does pretty well. So overall, he is still holding value, even though the Purple Goku came out, because of his very effective role and the way that he accomplishes his job. He's like Wolverine. He's the best there is at what he does. Next up, Sin Shenron. We have Sin Shenron coming out not as a damage unit, but holding a lot of value for being incredibly tanky, having endurance, and synergizing very well with Baby 2 for just the tank that always gets healed and just never dies. Every time Sin Shenron enters the battlefield, he gets like a 50% defense buff. He doesn't have to do anything, he just shows up and boom, 50% enjoy your defense buff. Combine that with the endurance, again, the buffs he gets when the enemy uses Rising Rush, makes him a very effective character for just stalling the game out, building like Dragon Balls up, repeatedly using Rising Rush and cheesing the game that way. Again, just very good tanking unit. So You cannot sleep on his value because of that. But again, you do not look to his value in terms of his damage output because you likely just won't find it. Green Gogeta next has the incredibly valuable Immobilize, has great blue card damage, and is a great anti-blue option for your fusions teams. There's not too many bad things to say about him. He's a really well-rounded unit. It's just fusions, again, right now is lacking some of that like super top tier levels of punch that they used to have. Overall, it's a great unit though. Next up, Red Transforming Frieza, whose value went up again since Legends Limited Frieza came out. You can run like Purple Red with the Transforming Cooler, Legends Limited Frieza, and this guy, and he will do a lot of work. Even outside of that, he's still very functional. You just, again, have to keep into consideration he has a time transformation, so you want to use him effectively and not waste that limited time of him being at his best. Moving down to S, I can see why the purple cooler is down here with the Legends Limited Frieza having just came out. However, if you do not have Legends Limited Frieza, the cooler is still a perfectly viable option. He's extremely well-rounded, has well above average defenses, good offenses, key restore, health restore on his second main ability, and just overall a very, very good kit. It makes him a very tough character to deal with and very good, you know, especially if you combine him. If you don't have to worry about yellow units, if you run the purple red with those two, you have a really, really powerful team build on your hands. It's cooler, very, very good unit. Next up, Android 21, probably the highest ranked free-to-play unit in the game, if I'm not mistaken, besides Shalit. You know, Shalit's the default starter character, but ones that have come out in events, she is the highest ranked free-to-play unit in the game. Mostly, again, going back to that trifecta synergy between the three females that we discussed. So we don't have to spend too much time on her, but just in addition to all the swap buffs and passive craziness there is going on with those women in general, she does apply the damage debuff to the enemy as well as the health restoration negation debuff. So she's got a really effective kit. Her main ability is also quite nice with just the blanket 20% damage buff for the whole team, a couple other little effects, and her green card is really nice as well. Helps her continue combos and even more buffs and debuffs. So very, very good free-to-play unit. Even better, again, in conjunction with those very specific character builds. Next up, LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I always valued him relatively high, but again, kind of like Shenron, he's not really your heavy offense character until late game when his yellow cards and his ultimate arts become super viable. But he's got a lot of utility, he's got great defenses, he's got a great green card, he's got pretty good sustain, he's got a heal that he can abuse on his main ability as well. And overall, I think he works in conjunction with like Shalit, LF Namek Goku, just other General Saiyans like the Red Bardock. I think he works extremely well on those style of teams and is pretty competitive, especially with his like Diamond or Platinum equip that helped him out even more. I do really like this Goku, although he's been a very controversial LF unit in the community overall since he came out, but I like him. Zamasu existing this high on the list only because of his specific synergy with Super Baby 2 and Zen Kai Buu. When you run that very specific team, you have just a Mount Everest of defenses that's extremely difficult to overcome and just healing coming from all angles. It's an extremely frustrating team to deal with that generally can find you running the timer out quite frequently. So very frustrating team to deal with. Zamasu by himself, not very good, but for that specific heavy defense and healing team build, that's where his usefulness comes in. You see a lot of Japanese players running that build, especially if they have Zen Kai 7 Buu. Next up, Blue Gogeta from the movies. Very effective blast damage dealer, very effective at using blue cards with his little mini lock-in, and he's a pretty good defensive unit as well. But again, it's just being held back a little bit by the stagnation of the Fusions team until we get some more really hype Fusion units. Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Blue Goku. He's a little bit more defensive at the beginning fight, which transfers into offensive power late game. He's a very well-rounded unit with the free Vanish Restore that the other Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Goku has also. And I mean, what can I say? His damage numbers are pretty reliable. His defense is pretty reliable. His heals on green card are great for sustaining in battle. And overall, he's a pretty reasonable God Key unit. However, you probably have better options between the LF in terms of Beerus and Vegeta, and then Rose and the Kaioken version of himself. And, you know, I don't know. He's still definitely a very viable option for your God Key teams, but there are other reasons why he's, you know, a little bit less competitive than some of your other choices. Moving on to Red Vegeto, who I guess would be the second place event-based free-to-play character in the game. Free 14 stars means that he has amazing synergy with Super Vegeto, amazing defensive properties, good little self-heal and lock-in that he can abuse. Like, lock-ins are some of the most frustrating things to deal with in this game, and he's got that 10-second one, so that automatically adds lots of value between that, his defense, card deletion on blue card. So he's frustrating to deal with, but again, Fusions is getting a little stagnant, so it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Fusion 13 losing a little bit of value because Red 18 has moved up to combine with the optimal ladies build for androids. With that being said, he is still pretty good if you're going for the more masculine version. Doesn't really fit on fusions or movies super well. Androids is definitely where you'll find him because he's got a great Z ability for him, and you might even end up benching him for the 3 ladies on the androids version of the team. But he's pretty effective unit. It's got a great cover swap in that saves you from melee cards, good ultimate arts technique, good blast armor on his green card that's comboable. So, you know, all in all, he's still a relatively good character. Just that female trifecta for the androids is really hard to top. Next up, Zen Kai Red Goku. Probably the least impressive out of all the Zen Kai units because his kit is somewhat specific against matching up against Lineage of Evil, which is not something that's gonna like reliably always happen, but he still outputs really good damage numbers, and he's still significantly better than what he used to be. Next up, Hit, who is just a damage and critical and card draw speed monster. We all know how dang good he is. He's always just struggled off of not having a super ideal team placement outside of yellow, yellow, blue. Universe 6 is still not a thing. However, his green card is phenomenal, his blue card damage is great, and it ups the cost of your enemy's arts cards, I do believe, as well. And of course, his ultimate arts technique does an absurd amount of damage. He is a monster of a character, and that's probably why he doesn't have a really high synergy team placement, because he might be too good if he did. However, non-existent defenses. Do not let him get beat up on even for like a single combo. He will regret it. EX Broly next works in tandem with the Hit really well on the yellow, yellow, blue teams. Also has nice little quirky lock-ins and very high damage output, making him a very high value EX unit. Transforming Trunks is next. One of the better like Vegeta family units. He is very powerful, can combo for quite a while, has really good self-buffing capabilities, and just high damage output on reds and blues. So really reliable, good character, just kind of suffering because, again, Vegeta family, hybrids, you know, Son family, all those teams are not hyper competitive right now. He's not on Son family, but we're going to get to that in 1 second with this Gohan right here. So just figured I might as well mention it all at the same time. Cooler coming up next. Blue Cooler is still probably your optimal blue unit choice for Lineage of Evil. He is not as competitive as the other units, but if you have some red stars on him, he is still relatively decent in battle and still hands out really good swap passives when you're swapping around between other Lineage of Evil characters. So, nowhere near as competitive as the purple version of himself, but still a high value unit for the other things that he brings to the table and just holding value because Lineage of Evil is in the spotlight right now still. So, we got the LF Super Saiyan 2 Gohan next. Again, really just falling off because Son family and hybrids. Those are his 2 main team placements, and they're not doing so hot right now. That's really the only problems with him. He's still an exceptionally good unit that does really nice things, has a great kit, just is lacking in a competitive team at the moment. He's still an S tier. These units are still really good, so don't worry about it like that. He just needs a team to be relevant again, which I'm sure will happen at some point. Super 17 is next. You don't really run him on GT. You have a better defensive option with Shenron, plus he needs to be 6 stars to really help out the team. You could run him on the masculine version of androids as your green unit, but outside of those 2 teams, he doesn't have too much placement, and that's probably his biggest downfall. However, he is really good with the all-team paralyze, the cover change and green card that'll block out yellow cards, and as well your, I don't know, just high defense in general. He takes hits pretty well. So he is a pretty good unit. but probably just not optimal on a lot of teams that you may end up running him on. Definitely not on fusions anymore since Green Gogeta came out. Next up, Baby Vegeta, not to be confused with Baby 2. This is a kind of anti-anchor unit. That's the way I see this character, which does kind of limit his usefulness. His debuffs from his main and his kit can only be applied to a single enemy unit, and they can swap out of those buffs if they have multiple team members available. So if you save the majority of his kit, like his main, until there's only one enemy left, then he'll be extremely effective at putting pressure on that final anchor character. Outside of that situation, I just think that he's kind of average, maybe a little bit above average, but in that anti-last man standing situation, he probably does earn a spot here near the bottom of S for being a relatively competitive character. We've got Shugesh on here next. Very good new EX unit. Has a very nice blue card featuring blast armor and force switching out. He will fit pretty much only on your Bardock squad though, which again is not like a hyper competitive team. He definitely helps make it between him, Borgos, and Bardock. These are going to be your three main members, and he's definitely second best out of the three. But for an EX unit, he puts up good numbers. He's got a very interesting main ability that locks him in. He's like, I'm so badass, I don't need a team to win. You know, give me these buffs and lock me in. All right. So yeah, he's definitely interesting character, Shugesh. But in terms of EX units, he's definitely very competitive. And we don't have all of the EX units on this list. Again, remember, only certain like highlight, spotlight worthy units. Next up, Spirit Bomb absorbed Movies Goku. He is extremely good for a defense unit, has the best defensive green card possibly in the game while instantly restoring his vanish and blocking attacks. Maybe my statement was too bold, because ones like the bubble shields from Gohan that block blue cards also probably a little bit better, but you know, I don't know. It's just very good. It's like the only character in the game that just has a straight up block move, other than those shielding type moves, that is. So definitely value there. Very high nuke potential on his ultimate arts, and overall he just kind of lacks a little bit of damage, makes up for it with defense, but struggles a little bit with team placement. Next up, we have the new support Blue Goku, who is very good at supporting damage and healing with ultimate arts. He's got a very nice kit. The main drawback for him is that he's very squishy and will die very easily. So if you're a very skilled player and you can manage swapping with him, you will get some very good usefulness out of him. He will help your Saiyan or Raddatz Saiyan Saga teams out quite a bit as a support unit. Just again, kind of like Hit, just don't let him get stuck in combos, otherwise he will die quickly. Pod Frieza raising up, again for just Lineage of Evil being boosted in general. However, it's an interesting to combo him with the LF Frieza, as they both will have good blue card damage. They both will feature blast armor, at least the Frieza has it on his ult, and you can be spamming out the telekinesis move as well for the immobilize. So definitely not as good as Cooler, but an option on your Frieza Force / Lineage of Evil teams. We're going to start to get through A tier and all the ones below significantly faster, you guys, just to kind of start wrapping this up. We're at the 45-minute mark now. We have the Ginyu Force. This is all the Ginyu Force. They are a very competitive free-to-play team. If you have red stars on them, maybe even at the bottom of S, because they are really high synergy and very hyper-competitive. For a free-to-play team, pretty surprising to get something of that value in the game for free. It'd be hopefully nice if they do that again someday. EX Wiese is next. Mostly been replaced by Rose, but you still can use him in the offbeat chance you want to do that Whis-Beerus team up. He's great for supporting Beerus and the rest of the team, but again, in most cases, Rose is better. Gohan is too low. He actually should be higher. I would say somewhere up here with these blue units and the red Vegeto in S tier. However, I do know why he's dropped, and again, it's because of Zen Kai Fat Buu. In some cases, you can go, you know, the green, yellow option to run the dual chromatic team, but more often than not, you'll run like Majin Buu 21 and LL Piccolo, or Majin Buu 21 and Cell, or, you know, some setup that is triple color. So that's probably why Gohan is dropped in Rusmir or Slanax size here, because it struggles to fit on the team a little bit now that Zen Kai Buu is out. However, he's still an extremely good unit, very high offense, great green card bubble shield, great main ability, and again, personally, this is me going on record saying I think he deserves to be up here in S tier. However, with that being said, if you have Zen Kai 7 Buu, you likely won't end up using Buuhan all that often, realistically speaking. And again, that's what this tier list is all about. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is next. Doesn't really have any good offensive qualities, but good on defense and good for near guaranteed feints. He's also Fusion's relatively only effective yellow unit, if not the only one. So until we get a different one, he's holding value, at least because of that coverage, if no other reason than that, in his defense and feinting. Next up, we have the Purple Android 17. He got a buff at some point a while back. He was really good. He's still effective on androids, and androids, other than like Majin 21, don't have too many good purple options. Like you have the support, like Android 15, I think, but who else is purple in androids that's really any that good? I don't really think anyone. So 21 or the 17 for your androids builds. That's why he's so much lower, because there's competition on every team where he would probably fit on. EX Zanya is next. Similar story between her and this blue Vegeta right here, or even like Janemba. And when you consider all the other powerful movies units between Gohan, Bojack, this Vegeta, Janemba, it's going to be a struggle to decide to bring Zanya over any one of them, or them together. Synergy. She's okay, but not out of the ordinary. Green Raddatz next. Early game monster, but falls off relatively quickly, and probably struggles for team placement. Like there's plenty of other just kind of generic Saiyans that are green that are better than Raddatz. However, he's still completely functional, completely usable, has a good kit, if not, but for only the first, X amount of kits that his passives last for. Kid Buu struggles with generating ki and struggles with competitiveness with Janemba, but he's still a very high damage, very good unit for his paralyzes, for his green card spam, for his blue card that damages all, and his ultimate arts technique. So still completely usable, but again, not as competitive as Janemba. Blue Bardock. Trinity Super Saiyan based teams have fallen off. This Bardock doesn't fit into the Bardock squad, but that, he's still valuable. He's still usable with any Super Saiyan. It's just that team's not as effective as it was before. For now, anyways. Next up, Tapion. Still on movies. Will struggle with Janemba as an option, but he's not terrible. It's just his damage output's a little bit low. He's more of like a crazy debuffer by locking all of your enemies' skills up so they can't really do much of anything. Outside of that, I would, most cases, run Janemba over him. LF Goten, the lowest rated of the LF units. Still very high blast damage, a little bit of support in his kit between him and Gohan, but mostly just a blast damage and ultimate arts dealer. And again, Son family and hybrids falling off has been his biggest downfall as a unit. He doesn't really have a very effective placement on many teams. EX Borgos is next. He's your tank, defender, and unit to die on the Bardock squad to help buff up Bardock himself. The red one, that is. Very defensive, reasonable damage output also, but not so much damage, more so defense. Maya's next. Great supporting unit for future. Not really competitive in the damage department, but if you are a very skilled player, you can make good use of her buffs and passives and still squeak out some pretty interesting wins. So again, future, not really that developed. Ladies have different metas that either run off Universe 2 or the Androids Majin 2121 style setup. So she doesn't fit in super well on any teams, but she's still a reasonably good females or future support unit. This green Gohan is dependent on future or hybrids coming back strong. Outside of that, maybe Son family. He doesn't fit in really anywhere that's competitive at the moment, but he's a pretty decent unit. This Vegeta is not tagged properly to fit into God Ki as optimally as we would have liked, and Vegeta family is not hyper competitive right now. He is extremely good at comboing and generating Dragon Balls for you, but overall just not as competitive as any options above him for any teams you probably want to run him on. Next up, Metal Cooler is not as good as Red Frieza for your Lineage of Evil teams, but is still an option. You'll be sacrificing a lot of damage for tankiness, healing, and some supporting qualities with him here. But, again, it's still an option. Just your other Red Frieza is much better. The base form blue untransformed or unfused Android 13. He is okay on your masculine androids teams, but the free-to-play 21 and her builds are going to be superior most all the time. So that's why he's dropped in value a little bit. Red Gt Goku is primarily a bench for GT, since Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta is so much better. Son family, again, still suffering, and that's why he is as well suffering. Doesn't fit on generic Saiyans quite as nicely either. Zen Kai Goku Black likely deserves to be much higher, especially if he's Zen Kai 7. Kind of similar to what the Buhan, where we pulled him up and made him higher. I would definitely put Zen Kai Goku Black much higher. He's a damage monster. I've seen him kill units in like 2 or 3 blast cards in some cases. So, again, personally, I would rank him a lot higher. So let's squeeze him in. Let's see. Let's squeeze him in. You know, definitely above Zen Chi Red Goku. I don't know. Let's squeeze him in kind of in the same area we squeezed Buhan in. Somewhere, like, in this region of S tier is probably where Zen Kai Goku Black belongs. Purple Goku Black is not a well fit for your Saiyan-based teams. Is not on God Key either. No God Key. So it's pretty much only future for him. And it's not a hyper-relevant team at the moment. He's also like a defensive unit, but he's not super defensive. He gets crazy offense buffs when he takes damage, but surviving damage can still be a challenge with him. Alright, now all the rest of these units in the list, we're closing in on the 1 hour mark here. You know, I tried to keep it shorter, but I still end up talking too dang much. But closing in on all the rest of these units, we're getting to the point again, there's so many units in the game. A lot of these units are usable. Even though it says all not recommended characters, you're still usable on bench. That is, again, for right now, with the competitive way the meta is structured at the moment. Like, yes, you could still run Ribrianne, Kakunsa, and Rosie on a U2 female squad, and it is still competitive. It's just not recommended because it's not in one of the highest ranked teams. It's not in the top meta, and that's just why it's not recommended. So some of these characters are flat out garbage. Other ones are still usable on various team builds. They're just not top meta teams at the moment. So to very briefly go through this. Gotenks is a bench unit for fusions. This Trunks is like a bench unit for hybrids, but that, yeah, not good team right now. Android right here is a buffer for blue units, if I'm not mistaken, and that, you know, yeah, just not super useful. Yellow full power Frieza only buffs yellow units, doesn't even fit into his own team of Lineage of Evil, but it's kind of okay because we have this character represented in the untransformed version of this golden red Frieza. So we don't really need him. That's good because he doesn't fit. His Z ability is trash. Yellow Bojack has been, you know, elbowed out of the space on his own team by other units that are just considerably better. None of the Legends roads, except for the green Gohan, are relatively that good or even competitive. And this Trunks right here, again, he's Legends Road Syndrome. This Android 14 is not really needed on the Androids team because there's other options. Super 17 is personally a better choice in my opinion, but he is actually usable, especially if you don't have some of those better options. This Red Goku, Red Super Saiyan 3 Goku, was never really good. I mean, he does apply extra early game pressure, but outside of that, his kit's not very good. Son family not competitive right now. Hybrid's not competitive right now, and even if they were, he's aged out. Is a yellow buffer only, this Heart Virus Goku. And he's good at buffing yellow, but that's pretty much all he does. Kakunsa, still good on Universe 2 females, but that's not the top meta females build at the moment. This Goten, replaced by Green Gogeta. This Purple 15, just not optimal on any of his teams. Purple Turles is purple red movies based character, not optimal. This Piccolo has been completely replaced by the new Transforming Legends Limited Piccolo. Even though he was a reasonable support unit, he's unnecessary at this point. One Hand Spirit Bomb Goku, also a purple heavy character that's unnecessary, doesn't really do anything for any team or anyone. Yellow Son Family Goku is a good bench for Son Family and good support for Son Family, but Son Family is just not terribly good right now. This Red Broly is strike bench support for movies, which is not really necessary. Red Janemba's way better, and Tapion's way better. This Vegeta was never good, even on his release. Universe 6 has no team. Videl does not fit on any competitive team at the moment. IT Goku does no damage. He's not competitive stats-wise. Green Cooler edged out of his own team due to, too many characters that are better. Ultimate Gohan, still functional, but again, Son family hybrids are behind right now. Green Broly is a defensive bench for movies and can be used, but makes pretty much all of his damage from blue cards. So again, movies has probably better options with other characters. This yellow God Vegeta is not very good at dealing damage at all, not very competitive on God Ki at all, but a good bench for God Ki. This blue Trunks sucks, pretty much always sucked, but there was a short period of time where his damage output was okay, and ever since then he's been useless. Majin Vegeta debuffs your own teammates. He would be so cool if he didn't have that debuff that ruined him as a character. It's very unfortunate. Yellow Goku Angel Super Saiyan 2. Yellow buffer, no team placement. Legends Road character. Actually one of the better ones, the Gt Goku, but still is non-competitive with better units. Hybrids, same as Yellow Trunks. Hybrids aged out, and even if they weren't, he would just be a bench for them. Slug, edged out by better units for the same team. Chi-Chi, good for specialized anti-Son family damage, but there are multiple females builds that are better that don't include her. Piccolo was good for anti-androids damage for a while, but again, no real reason to run him with the better options above. Yellow Android 18 has been competitive in a while. Hercule is a troll character that you bring just for his buffs and his kit and to have a little bit of fun. Red Cell, non-competitive. Metal Rildo doesn't fit on any teams other than Red. He has pretty good kit with anti-endurance, but has no team placement. Demon King Piccolo, non-competitive. Saiyaman 2, non-competitive with other females, although she's got good anti-LOE damage, I believe. Still not very competitive. Green Bardock, bench for Saiyans only, not even on the Bardock squad. Will you use him unless you just want to troll around with like multiple lock-in options between the two Bardocks? Yellow, Future Gohan. Future is behind. Hybrids are behind. Son family's behind. Purple Yamcha was always kind of just a gimmick fun troll character. Purple Broly, great bench. Amazing bench for your movies team, but is not super competitive in battle. He'll just die very fast, and his kit has not aged very well. Yellow Pycon, non-competitive. Purple Boo is vastly inferior to almost every other Boo in the game, and also he's kind of inferior to his own Red EX version, and he's also very inferior to Majin 21. Blue Bulma is a reasonable support unit, I guess, right? That's the green one. I don't remember which one actually now, but again, multiple females builds that are better. Green Piccolo, non-competitive at this point. Purple Janemba, non-competitive. Pan, non-competitive. 16, non-competitive. This Vegeta, non-competitive. Rosie, Cocoonsa, rebrand. Still good for Universe 2 females. So they are still an option, just not as competitive. I'll repeat that for the third time. These two Gokus and this Vegeta, non-competitive stats. Rebrianne, the Universe 2 thing I just mentioned. This Bulma would actually be pretty good for like a females Dragon Ball synergy team, but it's probably not super competitive. Red Ginyu Goku is actually still pretty good on the Ginyu Force. I would actually lump him up here in A with the EX Ginyu Force. So take him, Ginyu. It's the third change we made for this video. Take him and put him up here with Ginyu Force. Green Gt Goku is a bench unit for Saiyans, pretty much. You don't really want to bring him to battle, although he's still functional. He's not terrible. I know Brad would hurt to see this right here. Brad, if you're watching this video, don't look at this. If you look at the tier list, just ignore this part. Blue Crillon, not competitive right now. Kaba, Universe 6 has no team. Legends Road, not competitive. Chilled is not competitive. Been replaced on LOE by a much better support unit that's Legends Limited. Red Vegeta. Vegeta family is not super competitive. Trinity is not competitive. This is a Super Saiyan buffer, so they're just kind of on the back burner right now. He was kind of bench only. Saiyaman is still somewhat functional, but not very competitive. Goku, great bench for God Ki. Almost mandatory bench for God Ki if you have him start up, but you never want to use him because he's not competitive. Super Saiyan 3 Purple Goku, also not competitive, but amazing bench unit. This yellow Vegeta is also a great Saiyan bench unit. It's usually between him or the green GT Goku. They both buff blast attack. I believe he buffs blast defense and he buffs strike defense, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just kind of which defensive buff you'd prefer, but both good Saiyan bench units for blast Saiyans. Ginyu, I'll actually take him and put him up here with the Ginyu Force as well. Green Ginyu belongs with Ginyu Force and Frieza Force up there. Do it in your heads. Red Trunks needs a Zen Kai. Blue DeBurrow, worst Sparking in the game. He might not be optimal on too many team builds, but he's functional. Red Gogeta, bench for fusions. Kaioken Goku, bench for Song family or blue. Purple Nappa needs his event to come back so we can finish soul boosting him. Red Kale, Berserk, no Universe 6 team. And Green Gohan, best of the Legends Road units, but still hybrid Song family. Not competitive at the moment. We're at an hour, you guys. It took a long time to cover all that information. I don't know why I was surprised. It always does. But that's the tier list. It will be available on my Twitter if you'd like to check it out. It will be available in the Facebook group. That's pretty much it for this video. I guess I could quickly look at team tier lists. We've got Regeneration, Saiyan, Android, Sagas, Warrior, GT, God Key. I could probably spend another half an hour talking about this. It's a little bit out of order, but he's got the right idea. This is the Game Press team tier list. Regeneration definitely Z tier. I would say that the female androids build is definitely Z tier. I would say that some Shalit builds are probably pushing on Z tier depending on how starred your units are. GT can be pushing Z tier as well as God Key if you have Zen Kai 7 Beerus, as well as Lineage of Evil if you have a very strong build with the new Legends Limited Frieza. All those teams can be Z tier. Female Warrior definitely Z tier with Majin 21 and regular 21, but I'm not going to click on it to see what they're referring to. And then yeah, some of the Ginyu Force, yeah, the rest of it seems fairly accurate. But I would rearrange some of those top categories. Again, I could spend a lot more time looking at that, so if you wanted to check out Game Press's version of that, feel free to hit up their website and do so. But I'm going to cut this video here because I'm tired of talking for an hour straight, you guys. I hope the information was useful to you. Whether you agree or disagree, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, thank you to Devil Takoyaki, aka Thon, and thank you to Slanak for helping me create the video. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a thumbs up on it. Help spread it out so more people can see it. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll have plenty of more content coming for you in the future, so consider hitting that subscribe bell as well so that you can be notified. And other than that, I'll be seeing y'all very shortly, especially if we hear about Broly and Chilai. But I'm going to cut out, edit this, upload it, and hope y'all have a great weekend. Peace out.